Hey, what's going on everybody? This is JohnJake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a special presentation of the Conference USA in its participation of the 2024 bowl season. I hope you and guys enjoy this video, and if you do, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And you already know, without any further ado, we are going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into the action, as the first bowl game that we happen to have right in front of us is James Madison taking on Jacksonville State. James Madison representing the Sun Belt, as we find ourselves here in the beautiful Bahamas, taking part in that Bahamas Bowl presentation. And so with that being said, we'll see if our conference can get off to a fast start, see if they can pull it out against a very good James Madison team that finished 9-3 in the regular season. And you can see exactly why, even though James Madison last year, they did lose both their head coach, and they also happened to lose their starting quarterback in the transfer portal as well last season. But yet you can see that James Madison is still a quality program, as Adaye is going to find the end zone for the James Madison Dukes. And we're only a few minutes into this game, but you can tell that the Dukes are ready to dominate, as they are going to quickly jump out to a 10-0 lead already. However, Jacksonville State will be looking to respond on the next drive, as Tyler Webb drops back to pass, throws a dime over to the right-hand side, as that will get Jacksonville State across the 35-yard line. However, we do have to settle for a field goal afterwards. The kick is up, and it is good, so the field goal attempt is at least going to be okay, but we do only manage to get a few points out of it. Gonna remain in the game, but it is important that we come out here and get a stop on this James Madison team, as later on in the first quarter, few minutes left, a bunch of time in the pocket, as Barrett the third is gonna eventually find his receiver, and it'll eventually lead to James Madison driving down the length of the field. They will have to settle for a field goal, so at least the defense is able to hold it down, as it looks like the Dukes are on the verge of really taking control of this ball game, but, you know, making them settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. However, after we are forced to go 3 and out, that will not last long, as Adaye is untouched on his way into the end zone. It's another touchdown for this James Madison football team, and they are going to extend this lead even further. They are now going to be up 20-3 in the Bahamas Bowl, and it's been an absolutely dominating first half for this James Madison program, and really have a chance to really blow this thing wide open before we go into halftime. And sure enough, they will. James Madison will find the end zone for the third time here in this first half, as Thompson, the tight end, just happens to be wide but naked open, as Taylor Thompson, playing in his final college game, is going to have himself a receiving touchdown. But one silver lining for us, though, even though our Jacksonville State boys were completely dominated, we do at least get the ball to start this second half, but it looks like it's not going to get that much better anytime soon, as the ball just happens to be put on the ground. We were just trying to run a read option with Tyler Webb, and just did not look focused whatsoever. And Jacob Dobbs, the middle linebacker of James Madison, is going to make us absolutely look silly in that regard. And so it ends up being that James Madison takes over, but we do at least get our first sack of the Bahamas Bowl later on in the drive, though, as this will force James Madison to have to settle for a field goal. But REHAUL, playing in his last college game, he's on some award lists, you know, trying to be a finalist to those major college football awards. It's now 4th and 13 coming up. We're going to force the Dukes to settle for a 40-yard field goal attempt. The kick is up, and it's going to be good through the uprights as James Madison will firmly put a 30-burger against our squad. And jumping into the 4th quarter, nothing has really changed in regard. Granted, our defense has been playing significantly better, but just could not find an offensive rhythm today, as it looks like, you know, we could be seeing a spot to where we might be simming out, or, you know, the backups could be seeing some playing time here shortly, as Logan Afro is trying to put some points up on the board, but we get yet another sack. You know, that was something that we struggled with in the first half. Didn't get a ton of pressure, but now that's 2 sacks in the same drive, and that will eventually force the drive to end up stalling out. They get a few yards for a completion, but still ends up being yet another 40-yard field goal that they will have to go ahead and take care of. The kick is up. It's good through the uprights, and it just goes to show that James Madison will go on. They will dominate here in the Bahamas Bowl. 36-10 being that final score. And with that being said, this was certainly not the start that we were looking for whatsoever to get things started with bowl season. So the next game that happened to be coming up in terms of like what day they were actually playing, and that's the order that I'm doing things, is actually the college football playoff. Liberty, who does get ranked inside the top 20 after their victory against Jacksonville State in the conference championship game, well, they will be tasked to go play on the road. They will take on Penn State, and this Nittany Lions team, they were seeded number 5, but they were actually the number 1 ranked team in the entire country, right? What happened was that Penn State did not win their conference championship. They actually didn't even make it to the conference championship game because what happened was like Ohio State got in and they would end up losing to Oregon. So with that being said, we are dealing with the Nittany Lions as they're getting ready to go to work here against our Liberty Flames, as right now Drew Aller is going to rook over the middle, and look at this, we're going to force a turnover. Let's go, baby. Drew Aller just kind of telegraphing where he wanted to go with the football, and this was a decent drive here late in the first quarter of action, but the Liberty defense is able to stand tall, and they're able to get that critical stop that we're looking for, courtesy of Taylor Jackson. And that was really a story for that entire first half, and also deep in the 3rd quarter as well. No one was able to find any sort of offensive rhythm for most of this game, but really in the last like 15 to 20 minutes of game time, it ends up being simply a much more different of a story. This is the part where we start to see Penn State potentially break away as Drew Aller finally finds the end zone. He finds the junior receiver, Liam Clifford, for a touchdown late in the 3rd quarter of action. And then early on in the 4th quarter, Aller's going to go ahead, fakes the run to the 2-headed backfield monster, and just runs it in himself, completely untouched. Don't know why he's doing the head tap. He did not do any head tapping whatsoever. But hey, you know what? That's college kids being college kids, if I'm right. And this Penn State is going to pull away. They look like a team that, at least defensively, looks like a team that can, in fact, compete for a national championship. That offense, however, is going to be put in question, though. I mean, you only put up, you're not even going to put up 30 points against a group of 5 team. It may be the best group of 5 team in America, but at the same time, though, it's like, you would expect a lot more, right? But Drew Aller actually does put the ball on the ground, nearly turns it over. So, shout out to the Liberty defense, just refusing to give up. They are not quitters by any stretch of the imagination. And Bryson Jennings was the one responsible for the sack. It'll at least force Penn State's drive to go ahead and stall out. They'll go and get a field goal to make this a 24-0 affair. But you know, it was not the defense's fault. It was certainly not the defense's fault at all in this one. We just couldn't get anything going offensively, which was also a problem in that Bahamas Bowl matchup. Jacksonville State kind of had a similar issue, except they were at least kind of successful in putting points up on the scoreboard. And so with that being said, it looks like we will end up seeing Penn State. They will move on to the second round, otherwise known as the quarterfinals in the college football playoff. They will take on Kansas State. And yeah, I mean, if you look at things like down below, we won the turnover battle, just couldn't make plays when it mattered the most. So with that being said, we are so far in 0-2 in bowl season. And the next team that our conference is going to go up against, we are taking on Boise State. Boise State is a team that receives an invite to go to the New Mexico Bowl. And what happened after Boise State just got off to such an amazing start, they actually fell apart in the final couple of weeks of the season. So not only do we not see them in the college football playoff, but what also happened to Boise State as well is that they didn't even make it to their conference championship game. I think it ended up being between like UNLV and Colorado State, and both those teams did end up finishing behind us, obviously. That's why we got the college football playoff invitation. But with that being said, though, we'll go ahead and jump into the action. And I think a big reason for, you know, what we saw, what happened, was that Ashton Jeanty did actually get hurt. And you already know he is a major part of this offense. But so far in the opening drive of the game for the Broncos, it seems like they are handling it well, playing what many would consider a meaningless game, because their backup running back is going to help them drive down the length of the field, find the end zone, and the Boise State Broncos will go ahead. They'll make it 7-0, courtesy of the freshman running back Zaire Gaines, who is going to be projected to be that running back one for Boise State, as Ashton Jeanty would declare for the NFL draft. This is how we can go ahead and turn things around, though. A quick response as Caden Veinkamp is going to throw out to the perimeter. Does a beautiful job with the tunnel screen. And so we are now in Boise State territory. We're going to try to finish the drive off, but Veinkamp trying to run that read option might have not been the best read in the world, so we did have to settle for an egregiously long field goal. Actually, this is from 52 yards out. But shout out to that kicker, though, who will remain nameless. Kick is up in the air, and it is good. And so that is how Western Kentucky gets on the board. But surprisingly, this starts to shift into being more of a defensive-minded game. And it surprises me a little bit because you see the profiles of both of these teams. You know, I expected more offensive firepower in this particular ball game, but that just didn't quite happen here. Although they will get a 48-yard field goal that's up, and it is going to be good through the air as well. As now we'll go ahead and jump into the last few seconds of this first half, trying to put points on the board before we go into halftime, as Veinkamp stands in the pocket. He's going to find a receiver who gets downfield, kind of rolls out at about that 40-something yard line, and that will help keep a timeout, which is important here because they run hurry up, fires over the length of the field, and it is a big-time grab over the middle of the field. Caught for a big play there, and it eventually sets up a 40-yard field goal because they did decide to take a timeout to wrap things up in the first half of action. And field goal does end up being good, and so it allows it to be a one-score game, which will happen to remain a one-possession game for the entire second half, because literally nobody scores in the second half. But that could have changed there, as Boise State was down on the goal line. But yet our defense makes a critical play down on the goal line. And we're going to be able to keep it, at least keep themselves in the game here. This could be the moment where maybe Western Kentucky finds something offensively, and maybe they could be representative of our first bowl win as a conference. But first, they're going to have to convert this 3rd and 9 because they're they're threatening to stall out if they are not too terribly careful here, as Viscamp drops back, wants to throw the screen, but it was well covered. They were looking for that screen. They got it, because they had a lot of success with that tunnel screen earlier, but this time they were anticipating it. And that is going to cost Western Kentucky tremendously, as we will end up seeing Boise State take over at about the 20-yard line. Is that would allow them to kick the field goal that effectively put this game out of reach. So a very low scoring game here in the New Mexico Bowl, in spite of great lever and good offensive talent on both sides of the ball. I was a little surprised by how this game went down, but shout out to Boise State. They were able to finish the season on a high note. They are going to win a defensive minded 16-6 ball game. And now we only have one hope as a conference. And that last hope is playing in the New Orleans Bowl, as the Sam Houston Bearcats will make a trip to the Bayou and take on the Sun Belt, where they will be playing against Arkansas State. They got Jalen Rayner, who's an extremely talented quarterback. Definitely some young talent on that Arkansas State roster. But Sam Houston, at least on paper, does have the better football talent roster, right? So hopefully that does mean that Sam Houston is able to handle things here in the New Orleans Bowl, and we could finally reach out and say, hey, we actually did win something as a conference. But it's going to be up to the Sam Houston team, man. They are literally, and I mean this genuinely, our last hope, as we'll go ahead and get things officially underway in the New Orleans Bowl. We'll go ahead and jump into the second quarter right away, because nothing of substance really happens in that open quarter of action. But early in the second quarter, though, we have a huge run down this sideline where Arkansas State is finally going to break the virginity of the scoreboard, as that will be utilized for the very first time today, as Cross is going to get some good blocks on what was just an inside read for this Arkansas State offense. Nothing too complex by any means, but Jaquez Cross is able to find an open crease and take it into the end zone, and that is going to be your first points of the New Orleans Bowl. Now, late in the second quarter, though, as Sam Houston still down 7-3, as the Bearcats drop back, looks over the middle, find the receiver, who's got some speed, and Adaye is gonna be gone. Like a girl in a country song, Adaye is able to run away from the Arkansas State secondary, and is gonna find the end zone. Touchdown, Bearcats! So Sam Houston, just like that, with 2:15 left to play in the first half, he is going to go ahead and find the end zone. Not a great ball whatsoever, but still able to turn it up a notch and just run away from that secondary. I mean, he's got running away from the cop speed, as Gus Johnson would always say. But we'll see if that lead will remain or will change quickly as we enter the 2-minute timeout. Rayner, he's got an open man himself, and these Arkansas State guys, you know they got some track kids on this team, the way that they're running. And Rayner is going to officially answer back with a score of their own. The Red Wolves will take the lead right back. Not even a couple of plays later. Isn't that something? As it's a junior, Malik Hornsby, who will still have at least a year of eligibility remaining after this particular bowl game. He'll be going into his senior year once we start, actual season number 1. So, with that being said, we're down 14-10, and now Sam Houston needs a response of their own. 10's going to go ahead and throw to the right-hand side. Beautiful ball thrown here, and actually going to fall out of bounds at about the 40-yard line, as Hunter Watson continues a rather productive first half. He has nearly 200 yards of passing just in this first half alone. Might mess around and get it here, as this is a deep shot downfield, and it's caught! Adaye is is able to get loose once again. And the Bearcats will find the end zone for the second time in the last 60 seconds of gameplay, as the Bearcats will make it a 17-14 affair after a successful extra point as well. Just a beautiful throw as well from Hunter Watson, just thrown into a spot where only his guy can catch it. And now we'll see if the Bearcats can come through and get a stop. 17-14 your score is Rayner. He's going to throw deep downfield. He's got an open guy, and that's going to be caught for a huge first down. Carrying them across midfield, and only one more first down. It's going to get them in the field goal range, but they are thinking about so much more than that, though, as Arkansas State is going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Red Wolves. And Arkansas State, just in a flash of the eye, is going to go ahead, and they will indeed take a 21-17 lead, as that was Corey Rucker that was able to take the top off of the defense as well. So we got ourselves an absolute shootout on our hands. It's been a fun one. Now, we could not respond. We actually tried to try to take some timeouts from Arkansas State, and we just fail in all aspects in that regard, because Arkansas State is going to go on. They will score yet again. Malik Hornsby able to take the dot off of the defense for a second time, and that is actually going to end up being your halftime score after they do end up kicking the extra point. So Sam Houston's doing fine offensively, but apparently the defense is looking like the Cincinnati Bengals in 2024. They absolutely could not stop a nosebleed to save their lives. Now, fourth quarter is starting up. It's still an 11-point lead for Arkansas State, and it was at this point where we really needed some critical plays. We needed some plays from our defense, and Sam Houston, man, they just could not necessarily get it done. Reagan Ely on just a little bit of a bubble screen on the RPO ends up making a play. He gets some good blocks on the outside, and that is how Arkansas State will find the end zone there as well. And Arkansas State would march on and get a couple of other touchdowns after that. So it ends up being a dominating affair, but one bright spot absolutely has to be Adaye, who is having an electric ball game. That is his third receiving touchdown. So if somebody else would have just produced anywhere on this team, Sam Houston probably would have been fine. They probably would have won. I don't know if I'll say they win this game. It's hard to make that argument when you're getting absolutely blown out, but this will at least been a more competitive game. And, with that being said, Arkansas State gets the ball. They're probably going to run out the rest of this clock unless Sam Houston decides to take some timeouts here, as it looks like we'll see what they do on a 3rd and 8. They fake the run with Malik Hornsby, and they run it up the middle. They do almost pick up the first down, but this should be the last play of the game here. But no, they actually decide to get some more style points. They put up a field goal. I know the Sam Houston faithful is not excited about that field goal being kicked whatsoever, because that's the difference between, not giving up a 50-burger and actually giving up a 50-burger. Great game by Jalen Rayner, though. 72% completion percentage, 4 passing touchdowns. Huge reason why Arkansas State is going to, in fact, finish with a winning record. But it does also mean for the Conference USA, we are actually going to go winless here in bowl season. Alright guys, so we made it through the bowl season for us, and what we failed to do as a conference is we did not win a single bowl game, man. So a tough pill to swallow, as we'll go ahead and go into the next episode figuring out what can this conference do to compete with the rest of the FBS. We'll find that out in the next episode, but hopefully you enjoyed this one. We will have the entire offseason, and that'll also lay out how custom players and maybe custom coaches is going to work as well in the next episode. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed this one, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you happen to be brand new to the channel. This is JohnJake Game on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.